Nice.
Yeah, that's much better.
Better, great, good.
All right, sir. If you feel with it, we'll go ahead and begin here because I got several questions for you.
Lay it on me.
Jeff, first of all, thanks for sending us a bio.
Thank you.
And I'll be the first to admit it. I was taken aback by the awesomeness of it. Up there. Just right off the bat, it's you really go at it. Like first sentence, you know what I mean? It's fantastic. I'm just gonna read it to you, and I'm gonna ask you to kind of expound on it, if that's okay.
Okay.
All right, Jeff Davis, stand-up comedian based in Louisville, Kentucky, fastest typist in Kentucky, and 11th fastest in the world.
Yeah.
You want to start there, or you want to start the sentence before that? Stand up. Because I'm intrigued.
Fastest
typist. Sure. No, when I was in high school, I took typing on an old, manual typewriter, and I won the typing award, 90 words a minute, 2 errors, 88 net, 88 words a minute. Woohoo! And I had in high school, a couple of my teachers allowed us to have open notes quizzes and stuff, and I would type the notes while I ate, ice cream and toast and watched reruns of Star Trek in my kitchen at night, doing my homework. So it helped me get better grades in high school. And then when I went to IU, I ran out of money after the first year, and I had to get a job at IU, and I went in and I typed, 90 or 110 words a minute on a typing test. And so I was able to get good work, doing typing for the university, and I did papers for people, and it was pretty cool. And I don't know, so just over the years, I kept entering typing contests, and my personal best was like 204 words a minute.
Whoa.
Over a 5-minute writing with 16 errors for net of 188. And what I give you in the credit was, come on.
That is
Hang on, hey Linda. One of my dogs is trying to get into the camera.
Oh, nice.
But no,
in 90, back there.
Yeah.
in 91, Word Perfect Corporation, which was a word processing software company before Microsoft crushed them all. They had a contest looking for the world's fastest typist, and you had to qualify in Kentucky, and then the top whatever went to Las Vegas, and so I was the fastest in Kentucky. I had a little story about me in the Leo. It was pretty cool.
Hell yeah, it is.
And they even give me a certificate. Yeah, I used to take it out to the bars. Hello, ladies.
Yeah. 200. So 204. You said that
was a magical day, man.
That is crazy fast. I mean, I type every day, and I'd be hard pressed if I'm at 75, 80 on a consistent basis. You know what I mean? Like, that is super awesome, right?
Well,
that's like words I use every day.
I got faster because I was doing medical transcription, and I got paid by the line. And so
my wife did that for a while. I know exactly.
Oh my God! And when you're typing, organomegaly, and you get, and that comes out as fast as some people type right? Organomegaly,
So I can understand where that comes in. Just so we use like this pedal, like a stop, pause, fast forward foot pedal.
Yes, absolutely. I've had that too.
Really good at that. Yeah, she would just, because a lot of these are doctors with very heavy accents, so she would just blaze through it and just have to quickly write back a word. It's impressive.
So you've done that too? Is that what I heard you say?
My wife is a nurse. She's a certified medical transcriptionist for a while. It was mostly dermatology, right? Yeah, dermatology office. Yeah, so a lot of ridiculous words about the skin cancer.
Yeah.
Well, sure. And and in the old days, I mean, there's not a lot of transcription now available because they're called text, and the doctors are kind of poking and touching, but I could get work in any city, I'd go to the hospital, show up, do a test, boom, I had work, when I needed it. So it was cool.
It was a huge market. Ryan, you know the Merrimans that we grew up with.
Oh,
a friend
for
of ours, that was their parents'
Andy used to
company.
do that. Mhm.
Yeah. And it's crazy when Jessica, my wife, started doing it. It was right at the tail end. Like you could see the writing on the wall with the text to speech
Sure.
stuff. You're like, yep, it's, you might as well just keep going to school while it was nice to get this experience and stuff. But she's like, well, I got to keep going to progress because this is.
Oh, well, tell her about me. At one point, I had a Norton doctor, and I had two people working for me part time. And the doc, and this was at the end too. The doc would upload the files to the internet to like whatever the Google space, not it was whatever was before that.
Drive.
And I was giving them, I was charging 15 cents a line and giving them 12 cents a line.
Wow.
I've never made passive income like that before. That was pretty cool.
Awesome. Yeah, hell yeah. Well, I couldn't have thought of a better explanation for that sentence. That was fantastic. So the sentence right after that is also pretty, yeah. Two-time Kentucky State racquetball champion.
That's right. Oh man, I meant to bring a racket with me to show up on the screen. It's downstairs.
You see, and this is why I think racquetball makes me think of. I would assume seeing you talk about an arch rival via social media. Now, I assume your arch rival is via racquetball. I don't know if you have a typing arch rival or not.
Typing
that'd be cool.
That I can't imagine that, but I would assume your arch rival is in the sport of racquetball. How long have you been playing racquetball?
Yes. Hang on just 1 second.
Sure.
Okay, sorry about that.
You're good.
So yeah, that's funny you say that. I used to play at Humana downtown for forever. They've got maybe the best courts in town other than the Louisville Athletic Club. And there was a guy, Yan Zhang was his name. He was a network engineer at Humana, and younger than me, and thin and fast, and he pushed me. He's what kept me young there. 10 or 15 years ago. And he was so funny because we would play like there was money on the line, and when he would win, he would say, "I was on Fiat. I was on Fiat." I'm not trying to make fun of his. It was just kind of cute on Fiat. And then I work for a bank now for the last 15 years. Whoa! And I used to have we called it the pain train. Every Thursday, we'd go over to Humana, and I would sweet talk the women at the desk into letting us in because I was there, a couple of us had memberships, and we would play, everybody, we'd have 8 or 10 people rotating through for several weeks in a row.
Wow.
And one guy in particular, Jim, Jim is his name. He's very competitive and very fast, and let's see, about 15 years younger than me. And I'm telling you what, man, it was so cool because only in the last, it took about 5 years before he could get the pedal out of the master's hand. And, because I told him, I'm going to beat you 15-0 every time until I can't.
Right.
And so that pushed, and later, eventually, Father Time and his skill, he caught up with me a little bit.
But you said this right off the bat, it sounds like you let him know what was happening from the jump.
Yeah. Well, so I'm an evangelist. I started playing my roommate in college at IU in '76. Played on his high school racquetball team. They had state racquetball in Texas in flipping '76. I'd never even heard of racquetball. They didn't have any tennis courts where I grew up. So he taught me, and that's how he played. We played 21 in those days, and we'd go down and play all day, 21-0, 21-0, same serve until I could return it, and then he'd change it.
Wow.
So, and to this day, we went about 15 years with, how people just get apart. He lives in Texas, but he'll come up and we play racquetball. He can't touch me. He can't touch me now, which gives me great satisfaction.
So you still play? Yeah. I mean,
oh yeah. I haven't played since the pandemic.
Yeah.
But, I played in leagues at Humana. I played in tournaments. I just again, pre-COVID and hopefully after COVID, 50 or 100 people, men and women,
Mhm.
sweating their butts off.
Yeah, I hear it's one of
playing
the
racquetball
most.
and eating food and having fun.
I hear it's one of the most physically exertive sports that you can do. I mean, you.
You know, now I did not put this in the bio, but you are correct, sir. There's only one sport that burns more calories per hour, and that is swimming.
Yeah, there
Swimming
you go.
burns more calories per hour.
That makes
So
sense.
yeah, it's
Now
good
the
stuff.
rules itself of racquetball, I've only played a couple times, like maybe 4 or 5 times in my entire life. So I don't think I
Yeah.
fully comprehend the rules. How does it compare to handball?
It's the same. It's the exact same thing.
Okay.
Except in racquetball, you got a racket, and handball. Handball, you can use either your left or right hand to hit them.
And with the racket,
Different ball too.
a lot faster.
Different ball too. Racquetballs are a little bigger, 2¼ inches. The handballs are a little smaller. I brought these in case you wanted me to juggle.
All right.
These are the ones I used last March 11th, I think was the last time I played. I like these little half red, half blue balls, little purple.
Nice.
I
So
can't juggle.
See, I bring props. I bring props to these interviews. I don't just screw around.
There's one thing I cannot do, and I have never. Well, there's 2 things I know I cannot do. One is play the guitar, and the other is juggle. I've tried
man,
over
guitar is hard. I'll give you that.
over time.
Saxophone's easy to me compared to guitar.
I can't do juggling.
hold on.
I can play woodwinds. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
but I can't do.
I didn't-
juggle.
Did I get sidetracked by the typing and didn't notice the sax?
I put in there that I've played with Nilsson's band every now and then. Mike Nilsson has a band.
Yeah, that's right. Mhm.
What,
I
what kind
should
of
have sent you
music
the
do you
link, man. Last time we played out was like at a Tom Waits tribute, and I was wailing.
Cool.
I was wailing, man. We
Tom
played
Waits is one of my faves.
way down in the hole, and let's see, we down in the hole. And I'll think of the other one. 2 that we open with the 2 that I play on, and then they're kind of hard rock, and alto sax doesn't play on every song they play. So
I got
The band I was in covered a couple of Tom Waits tunes off. I'll have to think of it. I can't think of it. It was so long ago. The band happens to be named Chumley, or was named Chumley.
cool.
That's awesome. Tom Waits, man, he's one of those.
Bone Machine. Yeah. It's a
There's
great
no
album.
comparing Tom Waits to anybody, I don't think.
You can see it. We have a grand piano. My wife and I take piano lessons for the last 10 years.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm a pianist. I have
I
a
can
couple
see that.
degrees in
I
it,
love
and
it.
a couple degrees in composition. Yeah. So
Nice.
keyboard
Oh my God.
thing. I'm an organist. Yeah. I'm a geek.
Our teacher for 9 years was Juliana Horton.
Mhm.
She's now married to a professor at UK. She's getting her doctorate in, musical arts. Composition.
Yeah,
but-
her
so,
doctorate in
yeah,
musical
that's
arts and
really
composition.
cool.
That's awesome. At IU Bloomington.
No, she's at UK, Lexington.
Oh, UK. Okay, they have a
She's
good
over there
school.
now. She is an adult. She's she's 40. I don't know. She might have just turned. I shouldn't be saying a woman's name on air. Hey, how much does she weigh? But no, we used to take lessons from her until
Mhm.
she got married, moved to Lexington, and it was kind of hard to do. It's hard to do piano lessons like this.
Yeah,
We used to,
it
and
really is.
although we used to go over whenever she had time.
Yeah, my 2 undergrad degrees are from University of Louisville. So
Okay,
I
awesome.
grew up in Southern Indiana. I currently live in Colorado, so my master's is from Colorado. Yeah.
Well, that's awesome, man. Well, I play in a Bach now.
Awesome.
I've got I'm doing a Mozart.
Which one?
I knew you'd say that. The
Yeah.
Bach. No,
It's
the
right there
Bach is
behind
a little minuet in A minor.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's a great one.
And
It won't hurt my feelings if you sit down and tickle it.
No.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Okay. Don't be tempting them.
No.
pent up
Like
entertainment.
impromptu music.
I have no idea how it's going to sound, though, boys. We'll find
All right. At least enough we'll recognize it, I'm sure.
That's awesome.
It was actually Bergmuller that I played at the last recital that we had.
Mm-hmm.
Very nice.
That's awesome.
Baby grands are heavy. Father has one. I hope to inherit one day. But yeah, those things are super heavy, and I don't even think about moving.
Say again?
One. Grand pianos, crazy heavy, hard to move.
Oh my gosh, they're so awesome, though.
What's the upkeep like on one? Out of curiosity.
Tuning recommended twice a year, $1.25 each time it's tuned.
Okay.
$1.50 or $1.25. We got it from the piano shop. This guy that Juliana knew, and we got it on sale. It was a pretty good deal. We get in there to go look. It was a sale weekend, and there's this 9 or 11 foot Steinway, and we're like ooh and ahhing, and we say, that looks like the one that Yuja Wang played. And the guy comes out and said, it is the one that Yuja Wang played with Yuja Wang, the pianist, to perform with the Louisville Orchestra. And we saw that concert a couple of years
Okay.
Oh, awesome. That's
You
amazing.
know him, Ryan? Do you know who that is?
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
I
of
don't
course
know
he
him,
does.
but yeah.
Well, Yuja is a she, and I highly recommend looking her
sorry.
up.
Yeah.
No,
well.
you'll see. She's impeccably dressed.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yeah, I still follow the Louisville Orchestra. I used to go to their concerts all the time as a kid. I mean, that was my thing that we did.
Sure.
Their Saturday Night Masterworks once a month. So I actually was able to develop a little bit of a relationship with Lawrence Lighton Smith there. Lawrence Lighton Smith was a
cool
pianist, and he was the conductor of the orchestra for many years. And yeah, so I would go and see him at the pre-concert talks and talk to him. We would talk about the piano and all that stuff. It was fun.
Oh my God, that's fun. You might have known. You might have met Ray Horton. Raymond Horton was our piano
familiar.
teacher's father. He was the bass trombonist lead from like age 17. He was a what do you call it, an exceptional student for 30 or 40 years. 30 or 40 years.
I have a picture of his head in my mind from youth, because we would often at U of L we would often sing. My choir would sing with the orchestra for big concerts and stuff too. So
that's awesome experience.
Yeah, no, for a kid, I mean, that was just phenomenal. You know, or for a young man. Yeah.
Didn't you end up writing up a piece for the orchestra at one point or something as a part of your?
I've written for orchestra a few times. Not the Louisville Orchestra, but
I got you. That's amazing. That's not my world, so it's fascinating to hear about.
It's fun. No, that sounded beautiful, and the piano sounds great too.
Thanks. Yeah, like I said, that's a little rondo from 1700s. Or the 17th century.
My favorite composer is Bach.
About the upkeep. Is there one question about the upkeep on it? Is there like a special guy that's got a special set of tools?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so there's like a tuner set or something that specifically is for. I'm assuming he has a set. Is why he's getting up.
Oh, the thing, where they tighten or loosen. There's
okay.
So it's a whole set of tools. This is a full piano tuning kit set that I use.
Wow. Yes.
To tune the instruments that I play on. I'm not a tuner. It takes you go to school for that, you know.
Yeah.
Like little minor adjustments. This is the set that you need.
Sure.
So there's actually like a pathway to tunership or something? Is that what you're saying? Like there's a special.
I mean, I've known a lot of self-taught piano tuners in my time, but I've also known a lot of people who went to school for it.
I
You
didn't
know?
know that you could go to school for it. That's amazing.
Well, I don't think you can't get like 4-year degrees in it, but you can
Right.
get certificates, and when you're in school, you can study it with your
That's
local
cool.
piano tutor. Yeah.
That's one thing I'm terrible at, is recognizing pitch and like notes and stuff. I just assume I'm wrong every time. It's awful. I have no concept of it.
But there's another thing that I noticed in your bio that since we're talking about piano and things that we both like, you dropped Jonathan Winters as an influence. Jonathan Winters is someone that I grew up with. My dad always introduced me to him and his comedy, and first through It's a Mad, 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 Mad World, and then beyond. But yeah.
Well, we had his albums. I can't recall offhand the specific titles, but he was, every time he was on the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson.
Oh, he was so great.
That was the big treat in my house, was get to stay up late enough to see Johnny's monologue and the comedian. I'll tell you what, if you haven't seen it, Jonathan Winters has a book called Winter's Tales. And it's just a little paperback, maybe 110 pages, but they're little short stories from 1 or 2 pages to 10 or 15, and they are crazy out good, well written stuff.
Are you looking it up, Brian?
Yep.
It's called Winter's
Tales.
Winter's Tales. Okay.
If you can't find it, I'll mail it. I'll mail a copy to you.
I think he's Amazon probably.
That's it.
Sure.
That's it. Look at this, and they're all interactive and shit.
Yeah. It's such a unique face. His comedy is just so. It was more than physical. I mean, for me, it was about timing. Just being able to time his physicality, if you will. I mean,
and
he was
the way he
brilliant
slipped in and out of characters. That Maud, or whatever her name was, the angry woman, the old woman that was one of his go-tos. Yeah. Great stuff.
I mean, I think certainly inspired. I see a lot of like Terry Jones and Jonathan Winters, for the old Monty Python crew. I've always seen a little bit of that, and then
Flying Circus was my shit. I love the Flying Circus.
Me too.
Actually, Merriman got me into that.
I'm not dead yet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fucking Ministry of Silly Walks. That is, to me, the hands down the best comedy skit ever.
Or How to Irritate People. I love that one with Cleese and
fantastic.
That whole thing is just fantastic. Yeah.
I'm going to admit this. When you had that up on screen, I was trying to click on one of the pictures like I could control it. I'm an idiot.
Hey, that's all right.
It was my dual, you know what I mean? Like what a dummy. So tell me about your comedy experience. When did you start?
Yeah.
What got you into it? It sounds like you started pretty early as far as appreciating it. So what made you?
Well, I mean, in my house, we were always cracking jokes, and I had our Uncle Frank. Every time I saw him, and every time Uncle Jim would get together, they'd all bounce jokes, and my brother and I just grew up listening to people tell jokes. And my parents, growing up, they would have parties, and I guess it's not. They called it pantomime, where they would put on, the soundtrack to My Fair Lady or South Pacific, and then the men would dress up in funny stuff, and the women in costumes, and they would entertain each other. So I grew up seeing people in costumes, faux singing, real singing. My grandmother used to play piano with a cigarette hanging out of her mouth, and my mother used to say, "That ash didn't dare fall off." My grandma Jane was playing piano. But no, but I wanted to be an actor. And what happened was I realized that, you spend 6 weeks rehearsing a play, and then you maybe get, even in, regional theater, which I was doing some of in Cincinnati, you get 1 weekend or 2 weekends worth of shows, and then you got to start all over. Yeah. And so I saw the movie Punchline, and I thought, oh my God, maybe I can get a theater fix by doing comedy instead. And I started writing, and I had, after a year, I had a big stack of stuff, and one of my buddies from IU we got together and, said, what's this mean? I don't know. We carved out 7 minutes of the raunchiest comedy you could ever hear.
That's my fave, though.
Oh man, I'm telling you. and I auditioned. I got on. It took 6 weeks. There wasn't open mic nights. There weren't mics in every freaking venue in Cincinnati. I was living in Cincinnati at the time.
What year?
88. 88. I think. Justin, I think that was it. Go Bananas was the only game in town. You had to sign. It took 6 weeks of waiting list to get on.
Wow.
And you got 7 or 8. You only got 7 minutes. And man, it was a rush. And then I heard about the Funny Farm in Louisville, and I had to call down and get on there. There was a guy named Dave around at the time, and Mike Armstrong, who's like big time, as a club comic, and Bob and Tom. He was the only MC. He was still a working MC at that time. He had not yet quite bumped up. And I remember because I did my act just like I had done it in Cincinnati and rehearsed it, and I didn't know anything about the light. So I went over, and I remember Mike Armstrong, Jeff Davis, the long version, ladies and gentlemen. But Tom Sobel came over, introduced himself, paid for our couple of beers or whatever we had. My friend, also named Jeff McCurdy. And I thought, oh, here we go. I mean, this is show business. This is way better than auditioning in 6 weeks of, rehearsals to do a play. They gave me a booking right away, man. I made $35, 10 minutes at Two Keys in Lexington, College Bar. And it was a great experience, but I did not have any more material. And so I kind of had to go back to drawing to square one. I mean, that 7 minutes was the sum total of a year's worth of trying to write. And so then I worked my way up.
Did you go up in Cincy for quite a while before you made the move to?
No, I moved. In fact, I moved to Louisville to be closer to the Funny Farm, because there was a regular Tuesday night show that you didn't, wasn't quite a 6 weeks wait. And my buddy here that was helping me write the stuff. And so I show up and do my 3 minutes, and hope that give me 5 the next, a couple more weeks.
Did you have to wait?
It took a couple of years, Justin.
Did you have to wait 6 weeks?
Not in Louisville.
Not in Louisville. Okay. So
no, not in Louisville.
There's a waiting list, but once you're on the board, they'll shuffle you through a little faster.
Guys, I was lucky enough during that time. You could go up almost every Tuesday, and then Brett Soule started running the shows, and there was such high demand he bumped it to every other. And so then there was the Dennis and Eddie night, where they hosted, and Dennis and Eddie kind of got to pick who was on their show, and Donna Watts had a show, and she handpicked her people. But no, that's what I'm saying. For a year, good year, 18 months, I was up every Tuesday night. I wanted to be up in front of 150 or 180 people.
Wow, that many.
I
never went.
Oh, it was something else.
Yeah.
Here's the story I tell. I used to help teach these classes for MC 101 with Brett Soule. He and Keith McGill are now doing kind of their own thing where they're giving you MC 101 and they're helping you write, create an act. Where was I going with that? So what I was telling them is, work clean, which nobody does at first, but that's how you get more work.
Right.
And
it was still obligated to be dirty your first couple times, I think.
Oh yeah. Well, in Saturday night, third show, back in the days. But here's the thing: these kids, if you will, I am 20 to 30 years older than some of the folks that I've taught MC 101. They've never played in front of more than 10 or 20 people.
Yeah.
They don't know what it's like. I'll give you an example. In the big club, 150 people, even on a Tuesday night, you drop a joke, you tell your joke, and you get pockets over here. Maybe these people on this side laugh, and then it kind of spreads, and then finally it works its way around the room, and that's a hell of a feeling. And
It's also a timing issue too, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
for you,
Oh, yeah,
you
yeah,
on
yeah.
stage, you gotta.
And that's, you know, that's why people try to get up on stage in any open mic, whether there's an audience or not, because you got to hear yourself. You got to feel it. You know, it's tactile and it's your body. But again, what I wish, if I could grant a wish to the contemporaries, these young, the kids, the people coming up, it would be that they could get in front of bigger audiences sooner. Because man, not only is it a big rush, but you just learn things. You learn, you know, and you know, how to react to that, you know, that bridal shower group over there, or you know, the bus from that came in from Shively, you know, that somebody's dubbed them. I don't know. It was a long way to go from that first booking on the first site to get kind of back into the rotation, but then. You know, Sobel's had 2 weeks. You had a Sunday, you had a whole week, Wednesday through Sunday at the Caravan, and then you had like Monday in Bloomington at Bears. Tuesday was some goofy place up in West Lafayette, Purdue, and I think you went east. And there was, you know, it was just there were 20 or 30 stops and I got to do it a lot.
Wow.
I was a good MC. I never quite got to middle with Tom, but man, he would give me work all over the place because I was clean and reliable. You know,
that's such an awesome thing to be able to like have somebody experience like that. It's almost like a take you under their wing situation because they're getting the spots. You know what I'm saying? But
yeah.
I mean, I've only done open mics a handful of times, but I will say it's the best high I've ever felt.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Feeling like you did a good job and actually made somebody laugh.
Yeah.
When it happens right. I mean, I'm not a comedian because I'm, you know, but as a pianist, also getting up on stage and just failing miserably in front of a bunch of people was one of the most heartbreaking things that you can go through at any stage of life. But you learn from it and
sure
learn how to do it better the next time.
Well, you know,
what's your?
I'll tell you what. One year I made $500 for.
Might cut out.
Might cut out.
I didn't hear you. I heard $500, but I didn't hear after that.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I think I may have stepped on you. No, I was going to say the first time I made $500 to do a show was a pretty good night.
Oh hell yeah!
My chiropractor said, "Oh, you're a comedian, huh? We need a comedian for our annual get together." And I said, "Okay, and how much?" And at that time, I had some content, and I said $500. And I rented a tux. I did the sax bit. Clinton was president, so I was doing the sax bit with sunglasses and Clinton. And they had me. They had a golf scramble, and he said, "Come join us, and you can get some material." And I said, "Well, I'll come, but I don't know how to golf. I mean, the ball just sits there. That is not the same as having to chase a racquetball. I'm sorry.
No, right. It's not nearly as much fun."
But he said, either I just do it once a year when I go to, and so I went. I thought I won. I had the highest score, 196.
Nice. How long did it take you before you felt like you comfortably had a solid 5 or a solid 10? You know what I mean? And once you felt like you had it, did you feel obligated to keep it, or just constantly keep stretching and working it?
That is a great question. Trying to earn the right to host the first level of the paid gigs, right? Opener, middle, closer. You had to kind of work on the same 5 or 10 because, you know, if you didn't have a solid 10 to 15, you can't host, right?
Yeah.
And you have to be able to think on your feet. I need you to go a little short because we've got a guest set. It was a little late clearing the room, so I need you to only do 10 instead of 15. Or, I mean, so you had to think on your feet. What am I going to say? What am I going to cut? But I'm going to say a year. I'm going to say
Wow.
a year to get from three to 10. Hell yeah.
That's pretty good. I mean,
Yeah.
that's really good. Actually, I think years to have confidence in it, you know, I don't know. I'd be hard pressed to say I ever had a solid 5, but you know what I mean? That's awesome. That's a
But
big
it's
deal
different
for,
for everybody. I make
yeah.
fun of the people who take their notes up on stage because I don't think that's right. But bless their hearts, they're trying. They're
Yeah.
if that's what they got to do at the early stages, I'm not, more
I
power to
remember
them.
getting shit on by other comics for sitting on stage. I'll sit on the stool.
Huh?
That's a
I don't
big
have a
no.
problem with that.
Yeah, wore shorts and sat on the stool. It's a big issue. From like other comics that were there, like, dude, why are you sitting down? Who do you think you are? Like, I'm like, bro.
I mean, it's a prop. I mean, and
Sure.
if you use it appropriately, I mean, what's wrong with that? I don't
It's
know.
your show. It's
Yeah.
your show. You're the writer, director, producer, and actor.
Right.
So do what you want to do.
Yeah.
I find it strange that comics are like that.
Just don't read the script on stage.
What a lot of older or working pros would say is that the energy goes down when you sit. But if it's a mic and everybody else has been standing, I think it's kind of a nice touch to break it up and
Yeah.
People get, oh, you can't wear shorts, oh, you shouldn't do this, shouldn't do that. There are no rules, and that's the only rule, right? There are no rules.
Yeah.
I'm a big believer in that.
Yeah.
But there is also reality, right? And the reality is, if you want to be a club comic and travel, and you got a decent living, you can do it. And you can work blue. A lot of successful club comics work totally blue. But then there's also the people like Tim Cavanaugh who work totally clean, and
super funny.
Super funny. You know what? I opened for him buku times in the heyday of the caravan tours. Every year on my birthday, you guys, this is a small brag. He posts on my Facebook on my birthday on my Facebook. Happy birthday, Jeff. Go Clovers, stain their pants.
Nice.
Which is one of my punchlines that I've used in every show I've ever done. My wife hates that joke, but it has always, where's some wood? It has always worked.
Like a signature.
Yeah, it is. It's one of my signature bits. You want to hear it, or did you happen to watch any of the videos I sent?
I watched some of them, but I don't recall that. So I'd love to hear it if you have it.
Please.
Yeah, if you're able.
So I grew up in Cloverdale, Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
Oop. Are we synced?
We're good.
I hear you.
You want to hear the bit?
Yep.
So I grew up in Cloverdale, Indiana, home of the Clovers, which helped us a lot when we played football against teams like the Cougars, because they'd yell, "Go Cougars, tear them up," and we'd yell, "Go Clovers, stain their pants."
Yeah, it still works. You're right.
Coach was great. Coach was great. Thank you.
That's a good.
He'd say, "Now get in there, boys, and fight like Clovers."
Mm-hmm.
But we did. Got mowed
awesome.
down.
Love it.
That's solid, man. I appreciate that. Where is Cloverdale, Indiana?
Halfway between Indianapolis and Terre Haute.
Okay.
On I-70.
Gotcha. It's ridiculous how fucking long Indiana is. Like you start driving north.
5 hours from south to top.
Stupid.
Sure.
It gets
Not that you've been going up there to Michigan for those special stores or anything.
Yeah.
No, I've never been to Michigan, actually. I tend to go to Colorado.
Okay.
He's been to Colorado, yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
My excuse to go see Ryan.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
I love Colorado, but we don't need to get too much into Colorado. Colorado's great. I was originally born here, but I grew up in Southern Indiana, and
Um,
I'd stayed there for a long time.
what was your what's your bomb story? Like your horror nightmare bombing. Never want to do comedy again when I leave here.
I don't know that it's ever been so bad that I didn't want to do comedy again.
Okay.
I have, when I was doing the saxophone stuff, there were sometimes to open, there were some rowdy bars that I would see either the bartender or the bar owner or whoever was doing the opening crap to bring me up. And I would just sit there and go, oh my God, they are going to hate me because, I was preppy and blonde and, bringing a saxophone or a blow-up doll. I had a blow-up doll that I used. I'll tell you about that.
That sounds good.
Yeah, so some loud clubs, man, if they don't, they just look at you, and I would like say something, nothing, say something, nothing, say something, nothing. And what I did then and what you normally do is just plow through. You do your time and you smile and you don't get mad. It's very hacky to yell at people and get, because no matter how good we are, no matter how experienced, some audiences just aren't going to dig us.
Right. And there was always a part of me that found it funny that people are forced to listen to that bullshit I just did, or like I would be upset about it for a minute, and then it would end up making me laugh because somebody else had to sit through the misery. It wasn't me. I was just providing it. It wasn't that bad.
Well, here's the thing. Once you get kind of good at it, and then you start getting experienced at it and getting paid to do it, then the real fun part comes, because then you start nitpicking every little, I shoulda, woulda, coulda said, I left out that word, and that's why that bit bombed. And oh man, what was that ad lib I did that worked so well? Because I didn't always record my shows.
That was my next question. How often did you record?
In the old days, you couldn't really carry around a funky tape recorder. I did carry VHS tapes and had boxes of them, because you would take it and give it to Brett at the club, and he would record your set. So I've got tapes and you could watch them, a whole year's worth of 3 or 5 and 7 minutes over a 60 or 120 minute tape.
Wow.
But I did not personally record it. I was late to adopting the phones, so I'm not like some of the young kids who've got them, or my contemporary, like Mike Nielsen, records every set and then listens to it in his car because he drives around all over the state when he's doing his job. It's also a little painful as you probably know, to listen to. I mean,
it is for me, yeah. It is.
You never want to admit that's what you sound like.
Yeah.
It's never something you want to actually like be cool with.
Well, I sent the link to the one with the guy with sax appeal to one of my buddies out in Oklahoma, who's a big heavy metal shredhead guitar player and composer, and he's like, oh wow, man! And he started coming up with all these riffs. I haven't done the sax bit in a long time. About, hey, oh God, I don't even know my heavy metal bands, but he's like, Thin Lizzy and whatever. You can make fun of this song, and I'm reading these texts going, I have no idea what those songs are, but I'm gonna give it a try. I may bring the sax back, Justin. You kind of motivated me here to go back and try some old stuff new again.
Right. Yeah, I think.
So you want to hear?
I think.
So the blow up doll. The blow up.
Yes.
doll.
Yeah.
What time? How are we doing on time? Okay, 45 in.
You're good.
So I used to tour with Nicky the Buzzard Shane, and he was a character. He was a homeless person, the Buzzard. And so he was out there, man, and he could do 45 and 75, and audiences stayed with him all the time. And so I was doing the saxophone for a while, and then this guy gave me a song parody. Now, it's a Beatles song, Girl. Okay, you'll recognize it. Okay. So I would come out, and I had I had one of those English-looking black bowlers, one of those weird-ass noses with the mustaches, big oversized black coat, and something behind me under the back of the coat. And I'd come out, they'd, welcome to the stage, Jeff Davis. So I'd come up, yeah, there he is. That's him. And I'd say, is there anybody going to listen to my story all about a girl you'd like to know? She's the kind of girl you want so much it makes you dizzy every time you take a breath and blow. Oh, girl. Then I bring the doll around. Girl. And so the doll would start to inflate. I had them halfway inflated. And then if you blow her up too much, she gets a 48-inch bust. Ooh, ooh. If she gets a little prick, she flies
Holy
around
fuck.
the room so quickly. Ooh.
Jeez.
Okay, so
That's awesome. That's awesome. Because
blow up dolls.
were you
Or clean,
successfully
kids,
blowing
or
it up every
clean.
time?
Huh?
Did you successfully blow it up the entire way every?
I would get it enough that where I could squeeze its little ass, and because there's and then blowing on its head at the last verse.
I mean, I don't want to brag, but I have a little experience blowing.
Oh, do tell.
And also
please.
an inflatable sheep. It takes a second.
And this wasn't for
Gotta be a
camping.
little patient. That's for sure. That's impressive. Wow. It made me think. Made me look over your bio. The Leno leftovers.
Yeah, I
was
wanna hear
very
about that.
curious about that. These were actual jokes written for Leno that.
Oh yeah, just I could have brought that prop too. I have a folder. I've many folders, of jokes, because what happened, Brett, you had to sign up early to be eligible to submit to Jay Leno when he first started, and then after a while you couldn't get in. But Brett Soule, who of course ran the lights and sound and for the club for 14 years. He would write. He was and is an amazing writer. Just his work ethic is something else. So he would write type up 2 to 4 pages of jokes almost every day, and you had to fax them to a certain number. And they would go out there, and Jay himself would go to the fax machine because Brett visited him, and so Leno would pick them up and take these, and he'd go through them like this, and if he liked one, he'd take it to the writers' meeting, and if there was simultaneous creation, they called it simultaneous creation. Yeah, I think that's it. Like if one of the writers also thought of the same Britney Spears joke that week because of what Britney did.
Right.
The stringers like Brett did not get paid. His writers got deference, got first choice, right? So then and they would let Brett know that he sold 1 or 2. He'd get either a fax back or maybe an email or a CompuServe message. I don't know. No, Brett was a big AOL adopter, and so then the rest of them were fair play, and so. And he got paid $50 a joke in the early days, $75 I think at the end, and he sold
like 93 when Jay Leno took over.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Mm-hmm.
So and Brett wrote for him the whole time, and so he'd fax them over to me, or and then I would say I want this one, I paid $5.
Mm-hmm.
I paid $5 a joke to Brett, and I just thought that was kind of cool. I some people,
So would you work those into
lots
your
of people
normal
buy them
sets?
too. Sir?
Did you try to work those into your normal sets? Like you had
Oh yeah,
pump?
yeah. No, they became part of my set. Sure.
Wow.
Yeah, and in some of the early videos, it's obviously a patchwork of shit, right? A patchwork of jokey joke. I didn't graduate to writing chunks for a while. I was patchwork joke guy. I kind of evolved into storyteller guy. It's high energy. When I was younger, now I'm kind of, a lot more laid back, as maybe I should be.
I like storyteller jokes. I'm in it for the long haul.
Yeah, I'm with you. I appreciate, but there's
Yeah.
something about a good tight. Seinfeld's big on that. We get rid of all the excess. Cut all the fat off the joke, and there's something about that that's magical. He's a master at it. Yeah, I appreciate both for sure. The joke writing itself is just a fascinating thing to me.
It is.
Putting a thought to paper like that, that's something I've never been able to actually do effectively to like actually help me improve a joke. It's got, I think it's because I just need to say it out loud.
Yeah.
I guess, I guess that's just my own version of writing, but I never fully write it down word for word or anything, or never have.
That's interesting though. Like, how do you, either of you, I mean, okay, so maybe Jeff, you're starting with, say you start from a written joke. Like, how do you extrapolate from that joke and turn it into your own? I mean, do you talk it out like Justin is suggesting? I mean, because I've heard a lot of comedians do that. They talk through a joke and it develops into something. Or do you stick with paper and pencil?
Oh, both.
Both.
My wife finally made me use my smartphone whenever I had an idea, because I would like to write and then stick it in the folder, because then I can move it around and look at it. I'm very visual and touchy, but I now appreciate the value of okay, don't forget to flesh out the joke about
yeah,
that time when the dogs fought, whatever.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, it's I have pads of paper. I grab newspapers. I grab napkins and being able to type like I do. If I'm in front of the computer, I've got Word docs on my computer. Jokes. Data and then the date.
It's like me with music folders on my desktop.
Yes. There we go.
It's absurd.
Here's my follow up here. The current pre-COVID Louisville scene, where you see it now, where you see it moving forward to.
Well, our friends at whatever Louisville is Funny is called now are going to start doing shows again, and I think it's okay for me to talk about Tom Sobel, my agent, still gives me paid gigs, as many as I want when I want, but it's been kind of hard in COVID. He tells me that there is pent up desire, pent up demand for live entertainment, and he's getting calls from all over the place.
There is
people that he hasn't worked for, hasn't booked in a long time, maybe because he kind of got out of the business. He's semi-retired. I think it's going to explode. I do. I think
so too.
I wish, there was only one game when I was coming up. You had to be seen and you had to be judged and you had to take your licks. When Julie Powers, you'd go over to Julie Powers after your set. How did I do, Julie? Well, you really need to clean it up. And that one part, she would give you boom, boom, boom feedback right then and there. Oh my God, maybe that was. Yeah, I did consider quitting.
Version of who's Pauly Shore's mom, Mitzi from the Comedy Store. Basically, the local version of Mitzi.
Yeah. She was Tom's talent scout, and so there was a pathway to get to the next levels. I don't know I'm not sure how many people, Diana and the new owners are moving up, and they certainly got, hit in the shins with this COVID. But I think I think there's a lot of people who are really smart and talented, new talent that'll be able to do 15 and 30. And we know there's a ton of headliners who have been starving for a year. So,
right.
I know
a lot of musicians.
I think as soon as I get my shots, I'll consider going out. But, I have a couple of risk factors, and it'd be stupid for me to go out and try to do a show right now.
Yeah. I 100% support that for sure. It did seem right before the shut. I mean, I've never seen so many open mics and comedy shows in Louisville and surrounding area like in the past 2 years. I mean, it's just it's like if you wanted to go to one every night, I think you could.
And that's what makes Louisville a great comedy town, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
I remember only being either the Caravan and the Improv on 4th Street open. I got to do that once or twice.
Yeah. Good.
Then that was gone. And then it was just like every small bar had an open mic night all of a sudden. It was great.
And I have to say about music too, sorry to interject about that, but I mean, Louisville being an exceptional music town as well, catering to those within their community is pretty phenomenal. You know, being involved with that community for a while. I mean, Louisville in and of itself is such a wonderful place to be. You know, minus the weather and the allergies and all that kind of stuff. I much prefer to be up here at a Mile High, but Louisville itself as a town that supports the arts is getting better, has always been good at it, you know, at the grassroots level, but it's getting better and better at it, I think. I mean,
you know, if I can go back to transcription again, I have a friend who is the editor-in-chief for flyoverfuture.com, flyover country being, you know, not the East or West Coast. And she just had me transcribe about a 30-minute interview with Teddy Abrams, the current director of Louisville Orchestra.
Yeah.
Really cool what they did to try to engage with the schools so that they'd have all the kids play the same 8 bars and then let the professional musician listen to them and give criticisms and suggestions. Then they go back and the kids are playing them again. And apparently the high school teachers were a little bit leery of letting the professional musicians come into their turf. I know, but no, Teddy has won them over. The program is really working. So I thought that was kind of cool.
That is really cool. In my time in Louisville, I was for 2 years I taught with Kentucky Opera. It was the resident composer that went out to middle schools and elementary schools and helped put together semester shows for young kids and teach them to write music. And it was very similar. I mean, you have to, you know, let's just think about these few bars here. Let's work this out and turn this into something. And, you know, in the end, it meant I have to flesh out a bunch of other stuff in the process, but it was still like fabulous. Those programs have existed for a while. I love them.
Yeah, I wish there were more of that.
Yeah, they're
always. I'll tell you, you guys need to have me back on again, and we'll do a music episode.
Please do.
We'll work up some sax stuff and some piano stuff. And...
yeah, I'm open to that. Is there anybody in the local Louisville scene, comedy-wise, that you've seen kind of rise through and really that I should look into? Is there anybody you recommend? You think hilarious?
Ronan Hirschberg.
Man, he's killing it. I love.
Who is it? Who is that?
His name is Ronan.
R-A-N. Yeah.
Hirschberg. He was doing. That kid he's found his voice at a young age. His comedy voice. Good. He's a prolific writer. He is so effing funny. I think Mandy McKelvey. I've only seen her at the We Still Like You show I did. I've never seen her do stand-up yet, much to my chagrin. Yeah, there he is.
Yeah, I've done a few open mics with him.
He used to come say,
yeah, he's empty. Yep.
He's nuts.
He's for a while.
I like Rich Reagan's. I think Rich is, if he could just get out of Louisville, frankly, he probably he could be huge.
Rich Reagan's?
Rich Reagan. R-A-V-A-I-N-S.
Okay, Raven. Okay.
Reagan's, yeah.
Let's
Let's see. I don't know. I don't want to. There's a couple of them I don't like, but I like to stay in the light.
You mentioned one more. Let me share the screen on this one. But you mentioned one more there. You said Rich Reagan's and Run On. And is this who you're talking about, Rich Reagan's?
Yes, that's him.
Okay.
he personally makes me laugh really hard. There's something about him, man. His act, it just slays me.
Nice.
And you mentioned one other, didn't you? Maybe not.
Yeah, slipped by me. I think there was one more.
Oh, Mandy McKelvey. Mandy, I have not. She does one woman shows. She's an actress, extraordinaire. I have not seen her do any stand up yet, but that is on my list.
I see a few things here.
So you kind of alluded to
Andy McKelvey.
the negative, the shit show that comedy sometimes can be. There's it seems like comedy is one of those worlds where it's always open to some shady nonsense. Somebody trying to be the bookie, be the guy in betweener nonsense.
Yeah, and Justin, that's why that goes to what I said earlier about when there was one path to paid work. You knew we were all treated the same.
Yeah.
We all got 3 minutes. We all had to be clean. We had to respect the light. And if you wanted Julie's feedback, you had to have a tough, thick skin. And I don't remember ever having squabbles between comics when I was quote unquote coming up. We were more interested in helping each other with tags and worrying about who could follow who and who had the best pot. There wasn't fighting. Anyway, so I don't know. I think it's a combination of social media. We didn't have social media to constantly be listening to each other all day, every day if we wanted to. We saw each other on Tuesday nights. We saw each other when we showed up on. Huh?
I was agreeing. Give you something to look forward to. That time away is often the best part about it. You know what I mean? The reason the magic happens a little easier if you're not constantly connected to one another. You get a little more excited to see somebody on a Tuesday.
Yeah, because you mentioned social media, and that just like sticks in my head and my craw a bit. I use social media. I don't want to demonize it, but it's also has not prepared us for how to deal with each other face to face. I think artists of all ilk tend to want to help each other. That's just part of our nature.
And I also assume that like music same way, but there's a lot of shady like, man, I'm gonna get you this 5 minutes over here. The guy's trying to like connect you to somebody else, or
I don't know.
Weird.
I don't mean to. Fortunately, I don't have to worry about that world because I have two different agents right now. I can pick up the phone and get work. So I don't know. I paid my dues. I'm not trying to say I'm not anything special at all. I just happen to have been around a while.
Yeah, I respect that.
So
it's
boys, I need to get going here pretty soon.
Okay.
I hope that's okay to announce.
Man.
No worries. I definitely want to have you back on. Yeah, we got to talk about some music, and
I can't wait to talk to you. Mark Walker, you know that name? Director
in my head.
of Louisville Master Chorale.
Yes, that's right.
He is our second teacher. He was our teacher, and he's an organ guy. He's got master in organ. And
yes.
He's an organ guy who I
know him through Kent Hatterberg at U of L, I think.
Okay, cool. So yeah, this was great fun for me. I really enjoyed it, you guys. Any last questions? Any last?
Let's get together and do it again.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure, man. I really appreciate it. I'm glad I reached out and made this happen.
This is super fun. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you have a wonderful night.
All right, you too.
Keep rocking.
All right, guys.
Stay safe. Take care.
See ya.